From the center of the Americas to you, wherever you are, this is the end of days. Hello, exiles. Welcome home. We got a real hot tamale today. If you're ever so slightly paying attention, you may have noticed that more and more people are seeming to get it. But by that, what do we mean? Back in our youth, it seems that there wasn't just a lot of people forthright in their thinking. They tended to fall into one camp or another and were easily fashioned into boxes. This is the state of humanity 40, 50 years ago, and not even that long ago. It does seem that back in the day, navigating through American life was largely done on autopilot. The level of assumption people had ensured the placid stupidity of the masses. And what we are consumed by way of truth-seeking generally led us in a circle. I don't know how specifically different the masses are today. There's a lot of very dumb, sleepy people out there still. But people are seeking and finding truth in a way they hadn't in the past, and the divide between the awake and the sleeping grows wider than ever. But this does beg the question, doesn't it, of just what has and is happening here. And I think it's got to do with communication. Not long ago, all our information was siloed. It was all very much controlled top down. And as such, it was pretty uniform. There were differences of opinion and viewpoint, to be sure, but there was nowhere near the amount of opinion available as today, where you are just a flip away on YouTube or Rumble of finding anything. This has allowed human thought to expand at a pace and in a way that before could not. And in this process, we've discovered that the gatekeepers hadn't in fact been curating our news, but rather they were lying to us. And this we know for certain, simply judging by how they're handling the loss of this purview. To those awake, it's obvious that they're freaked out. Fully aware people have caught on or are catching on, and all their plans to enslave us in 15-minute cities that are nothing other than concentration camps, their bullshit programmable money vis-a-vis CBDCs, the poison they're putting into our food supply, the sky, and on our clothing, the removal of our God-given human rights, such as freedom of speech, and their satanic attempt to murder us all, or as many of us as possible via mRNA bioweapons. Yeah, we know who they are and what they're doing. There's only one thing we can and should do, and that is no. Never acquiesce. The Lord has said he'll shorten the days, for were he not to do this, there would be no flesh left. That is an example of how serious the matter is. This is for all the cannolis, so to speak. And if they try to draft you, don't go. The answer is no. The war is merely a meat grinder. There is no intention of the USI to win this or any war. It cannot. You will serve more effectively patrolling your own neighborhood. There is nothing over there for you. Speaking of shortening the days, it is hard anymore. And I think the change occurred pronouncedly in these past 4 or so years since the great malarkey pull of all human history, as it were. Well, it is a bit tepid to refer to it as a malarkey pull. It's more accurately described as mass genocide. Oh, and they're going to try pulling it again. Surprise. I think it's hard anymore to maintain an atheistic disposition when every shred of evidence that is extant point unequivocally toward a creator. Which really gets us onto the point of this whole loopy fiasco, as it were. I was thinking about two guys who couldn't be more different. And the first is a large Sikh hailing from England. Surprise, surprise. It's just so unexpected that England is so overrepresented as a place where its countrymen are certified and Dawkins, an evolutionary biologist, has put together some pretty funny notions about what's going on around here. All these guys, mostly scientists and so forth, possess an unwavering sense that because they've employed logic, they've managed to figure out everything. Albert Einstein was another one of these daft who thought that if you stuff enough of the right matter together, you can create consciousness. These are guys who believed in thousands of monkeys and self-assembling 747s. Anything possible, given enough time, baby. And as Cliff High would say, these people are dumb, dumb, dumb. But in fairness to Dawkins, who wrote a pretty good book about 50 years ago, and he also coined the term meme, which is the behavioral equivalent to a gene. So we don't write him off entirely, just mostly so. And this brings us to Robert Edward Grant, who gave a speech recently at the Vatican. And there's a link below. And it's entitled Codex Universalis, which translates, it's Latin, I suppose, to the universal code, presumably, the code of life. And he starts out by positing how to prove mathematically the existence of God, and turned the notion, he says, the notion of zero to the power of zero, nothing to the power of nothing, equaling everything. And it implied immediately to him a divine creator. And he goes on to say, prime numbers are not random at all. They're tied to the number 24. So get this, every prime number above 5 to infinity, when squared, becomes a multiple of 24 plus 1. 24 plus 1. So 7 is the next prime number after 5. 7 times 7 is 49. And that's 24 twice plus 1. So what's going on here? I spend my time, Robert says, looking for patterns because this language of mathematics is the language of the universe. It is the Codex Universalis. And Robert, if you don't know, is a self-styled polymath and an all-around genius. And his greatest strength, it seems, is geometry. His series code X, like code, C-O-D-E, and the number X, or I guess that's a letter, is on Gaia, and he's got a YouTube channel, and the links are below. But his math, geometry, and dot connecting of facts about this world and the visible universe give example after example of a created existence. And he is the perfect antidote to Dawkins and the other secret society guys like Hawking and Neil Tyson, etc., who have always relied on a lack of evidence as proof of the inexistence of God. He quotes Louis Pasteur, who said, if you study a little science, you move farther away from God. But if you study a lot of science, you come nearer to him. There is nothing, rather, about geometry that is not perfection, he says, literal perfection. He goes on to talk about the quadrivium. Arithmetic is number in and of itself. Geometry is number in space. Number in time is music, and number in space-time is cosmology. If you look around the universe, you see it is telling you, it is showing you the signature of the divine. Here's an amazing fact. One, speaking to how the universe provides examples of the divine creation that it is. So, in our example, we see that a day on Earth is 86,400 seconds is one day. And the diameter of the sun is 864,000 miles. And Robert says, hey, I don't believe in coincidences anymore. My take is that seeing all this, that which had been hidden, is possible now. And as Robert says, when we have love in our hearts, this is when it's possible. When we have love in our hearts rather than judgment. So I hope that you will spend some time listening to Robert Edward Grant. His podcasts are a good place to get your feet wet, but Codex on Gaia was and is truly exceptional. You got to seek that out. There's some amazing stuff in there. God has put Robert Edward Grant, amongst others, in a place of influence to help us to wake up. And some may hear him and dismiss him for one reason or another, or perhaps none at all. Many are called, few answer. We have been given in this time a calling to wake up, because very soon they're going to turn off the internet. And when it's reopened, you won't be on it without a world ID. All the truth is literally right here before us. But that's been its secret sauce in the past. Leave it on the table, open, and who's going to look for it? But it's become a problem. People have caught on to the lies and are getting pissed off and becoming uncooperative. The idiocy that has passed for atheism is, on its face, demonstrably false and stupid, and that is being proven over and over. The lies are so obtuse in light of all the information we suddenly now have that they cannot be promulgated much longer. When the point of your life, when the point of your existence is power, and by extension, money, then you have the mother of all problems, and so you have to do something. And at this point, there's only one thing left you can do: destroy everything. Wreck the planet and kill every living thing upon it. That is their plan. And simply put, if you disagree with this assessment, you're absolutely doomed, because when it gets here, surprise, surprise, you won't even be able to say what it is, because that's how stupid you are. Where do we go from here? So much to talk about. God helps those who help themselves. So whatever you do, work at it with all your heart. Be mindful, be helpful unto others, for there is salvation, and that salvation may be your own, and you not even know it. CB wanted me to mention, thanks for listening. If you like this content, please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps.
Adios, and thanks for all the fish.